gentlemen, turn your speakers up. It's time for the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast. A podcast discussing all things AEW and WWE. Oh yeah! Let's meet the hosts. First, a man hailing from the Hub City in Indiana. He goes by @TooSweetKyle on Twitter. The host, Kyle Gagliardi. And your co-host, hailing from the Valley of Lake Tahoe. He goes by @JimTuck89 on Twitter. Jim Tucker. And last but not least, hailing from the cornfield somewhere in Indiana, the full-time part-timer, Ian Garavaglia. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram @PodOnTheMark.
What is going on, everyone? You're listening to the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast, hosted by the Marks, for the Marks, and I'm your host, Mr. OTM Kyle Gagliardi. And joining me this evening is my good friend, Ian Garavaglia, the full-time part-timer. Sir, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. We talked before. I'm still a little sweaty. I had a nice fresh workout before this, so I'm doing fantastic. I'm lively, so that's new. At least I didn't just wake up from a nap like 2 weeks ago.
I was going to say, I think the roles are kind of reversed. I'm kind of dragging a little bit today. It's not like it was a long day. It was just one of those days where I really didn't have much going on. So I was kind of just trying to find things to do around the house. Like, I got done with work at a decent time, so I figured, I'd move things around. I decided to clean. Be a productive adult sometimes, Ian. I do that stuff.
What is that?
Yeah, you know about that life. You're the man of the house over there.
Yeah. For an update, life update, just because you asked, like
I
usually
did not.
every single week. Well, I'm gonna give it to you anyway. We're getting close to moving day, I should say. So I was thinking during the intro of the podcast here, that might have to get changed. I won't be from somewhere in the middle of the Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, you'll definitely be in the middle of Indiana.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point.
So it kind of plays.
Maybe I could be the hub city of Indiana.
Oh
wait, no, you're the hub city of Indiana.
Yeah, I'm the hub city. That's what they call Crown. You're in the Circle City. That's where you're going.
Okay, we could mess around with that.
Circle City, full-time, part-timer. Yeah, we're gonna have to workshop your gimmick a little bit because I'm sure you're due for another change. But
True.
Ian, there's a lot of fun things happening over at the Main Event Wrestling Network. I don't know if you saw, but we recently just became a sponsor for a first-round matchup that's happening in Session 1 of AEW Wrestling show that is happening this Saturday. It is going to be a matchup between Eric Taylor, who we got to see in the Cleveland, actually, for SummerSlam weekend. He put on a couple great matches at AEW. And then he'll be facing off against former ECW superstar Colin Delaney, who has been absolutely killing it on the indies. So main event moves are most definitely happening, my friend.
Yeah, I was not able to go on that Cleveland trip, but you did tell me about this Eric Taylor guy, and I'm all in. I'm very excited. I know he's young, so up and rising star. So it's a cool feeling being able to. I mean, it's not coming out of my pocket, mainly just your pocket.
There's no mainly, Ian. It is coming from my pocket.
But it's a cool feeling just seeing that our podcast or just the people involved in it can support independent wrestling. Because as the wrestling junkies say, we all should support the independents.
Yeah, and you should support the wrestling junkies as well because they have had Eric Taylor actually on their show before. He's had a couple interviews, I believe, with them. So if you follow @mainevent_net, that may lead you to the Wrestling Junkies channel. Make sure you check them out after you watch this episode because we got a lot of things to talk about tonight. And if you want to keep up with everything OTM, we are on all the socials @PodOnTheMark. Ian, we did just hit 800 followers on X, so there's something.
Yeah, hey, it's a milestone, and on the road, is that the road to 900 then, or be the road to 1K?
We're on the road to 1K. Fuck
okay,
900.
I like that. Thank you. Okay, I appreciate that. So we're on the road to 1K, so if you know somebody, tell somebody.
Do you know that Dirk Vogus is watching the show right now?
Dirk. That's a nice name. I like
Anybody named Dirk sounds like a stand-up individual.
What a name, right? Dirk Van Fleet.
You know, I find it, I kind of starting to understand like how that clip can kind of be demoralizing for a Dirk. There's a laugh. There's the laugh at the end. I understand it now, but it's in good faith.
It's a legendary name.
Absolutely.
It stands the test of time.
I know one Dirk.
It's not like Ralph. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Ralph's
true.
a terrible name, and that's my dad's name. I can say that. I could have been RG3, though, Ian. I could have been Ralph Jr.
That would have been kind of sick. Oh, no, it'd be RG5 then at that point.
Would it? No, I think it would be RG3 because my grandpa was Ralph, then Ralph was Ralph, and then I would be Ralph the third.
I thought you were going after like the football RG3.
Well, yeah, that was a play on that as well, but I
fair.
could have rocked that nickname. I mean, that's
fair.
you RG3 or Gags? Which one do you like better?
No, Gags. That stands the test of time there.
Yeah, and I got that nickname actually from my grandpa. He was the only person that was called Gags. It must have skipped Ralph, you know.
It's Ralph.
You look at him, you see him, it's just Ralph. If you know, you know. But Ian, we do have a lot to talk about. I say we start here because this just became available on Netflix, I believe yesterday, right? Only
yesterday. Yep.
Yeah, so you've completed this series, correct?
I have.
I know this is a broad question, but is there any overall thoughts on the presentation? Is it what you expected? Did it live up to your expectations?
So here's the thing. I didn't set expectations. I didn't think it would be anything. If Vince is involved and it was spilling the absolute most tea about the situations that he was involved in, I don't think he'd allow it to go out. I mean, I'm sure he signed something to say something, but like, there's no way he'd let anything too crazy go out about Vince. I mean, everything that was told during, especially like the first probably 6 episodes, I pretty much already kind of knew.
6 episodes.
Oh, 5 episodes then.
Yeah, there you go.
So the first 5 episodes it really started like opening up once those allegations came out. The most recent allegations that kind of ended his little career. Yeah, just forced him to retire again. It was just strange to me that it kind of felt weird that in the last episode that everybody that was doing the interviews just kind of dropped out. As soon as all the allegations came out, everybody was done. I don't think anybody else followed up besides maybe some reporters.
Oh, no, they had some people follow up. I mean, they even showed the year when Bruce Pritchard came on in 2024, and he was still standing up for Vince McMahon, which,
yeah.
I mean, at this point, man, I get it. You were the right-hand man to Vince McMahon, but Vince is not a good guy. Like, if you watch this documentary, Ian, you can tell that this is just not a good human being. You know, he contradicts himself when he was answering questions that they were asking him on this documentary. You know, he would say that the character that was portrayed on screen was nothing like the real Vince, but then he would go back and say that there were, you know, just blurring of the lines. There was no real happy medium there. He was the same person that he portrayed on TV. It just overall, I mean, like you said, a lot of information that we already know. Like, if you're a diehard wrestling fan, you knew a lot that happened up until about episode 6 is where this series started. And by the way, you know, spoiler alert on some of this stuff. If you haven't watched it, tune back in a couple minutes. But I was entertained with it. Like, obviously, watching it all in one day, you got to be somewhat entertained. But I really wanted it to be more of bashing of Vince because, you know, most of it was just telling how he kind of made everything and how he was self-made, which what he was. You know, you can't take that stuff away from him, but I really thought we were going to get more of what recently came out. But once you saw that this was all taking place in 2022, I'm wondering if there's going to be a follow-up to this. Do you think that they could potentially make a part 2 out of this?
I don't think so unless anything else happens. But yeah, I do remember I had some notes on my phone. I should have probably pulled those up. One of the notes literally said "fuck Bruce Pritchard" because that interview was pretty bad. That was not a good look for him. Yeah, I don't know. The interviews about Vince when they would ask about certain specific topics. I understand he's been in the I guess the chairman for a long time, or he was, and you'd forget some stuff. But there was some stuff that they brought up, especially with the Divas era, that he'd just say, "I don't remember that." That's immediately a red flag. It just felt strange to me. I mean, I think everybody knew that he was not a great human being behind the scenes. But hearing on about the interactions him and specifically Shane had, his own son,
Yeah.
when Vince would just say, "Well, my dad was like that to me. Why can't I do it to my son?" And you could tell like Shane's different. He's not a normal McMahon, Mr. McMahon, I guess you could say, in the family. Yeah, I'm sure we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about AEW. So it brought up a lot of topics about Shane's segments in the show on what could be leading up eventually for his future career. But I don't know. I'm skeptical.
Yeah, and obviously they told us about, Vince's upbringing and how it wasn't very pleasant. I think I knew a little bit about that, but it's still not an excuse to take that out on the next generation, on your son and your daughter. But, out of sight, out of mind with him, honestly. Now that he's gone, I really don't care. But this was something that I definitely think all wrestling fans wanted to see. We're all curious because this is the man that basically put sports entertainment, pro wrestling on the map. Let's be real. He stopped the territories. He made a WWF, now known as WWE, beat WCW in the ratings. And that was history. And now here we are. It's become mainstream. So yes, and this is like interesting because I don't know if you remember the final question they asked. What is Vince McMahon's legacy? I'm curious on what you think Vince McMahon's legacy is.
I'm glad you asked because I was actually thinking about that. I guess it's kind of more like outside of wrestling. He's kind of the ultimate capitalist. Like you said, it's a self-made billionaire. That takes a lot, and he did not have a great upbringing. And he was really good at just thinking against the mold, especially when it came to the wrestling business, the network, live TV, and changing once WCW was fighting against him during the Monday Night Wars. He won. He won every single time except for the recent battles he's been through, obviously. But
probably not going to win those.
No, I don't think he's going to win those. But, he ultimate opportunist, I think, would be a perfect way to describe it.
Yeah, I think that's one way to describe it. He's obviously the best promoter the business has ever seen. And that's saying that, separating business from the actual human being. The human being's a piece of shit. He's going to rot in hell. I know a lot of these, he was always under scandal too. Like, we went from the steroid era, then they talked about the Benoit situation. Like, he's really been through a lot, and he came out the other end.
I do want to say, I completely forgot about that segment. That was the one part that actually shocked me, was the Benoit situation and the concussions and the CTE. They mentioned that he, like, the process they went through to try to avoid CTE, which the wrestlers that were interviewed that didn't believe in CTE was wild to me. I think
Stone Cold.
I think Stone Cold. Yeah, he even said that. Yeah. It's like, what do you mean? Obviously it is. You're having memory loss.
Right.
So that's the stuff that really shocked me about everything. I thought that was the most interesting info, and the fact that Vince said, "Yeah, we tried to tackle it head on and tried to stop it." That was kind of shocking to me. I figured he would still be trying to go for.
Oh, I don't think head on is a good term there.
Oh, okay. But
no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm shocked he actually tried to tackle that situation.
Yeah, overall, though, I thought it was solid. I would recommend the watch. It's only 6 episodes, like we said, about an hour per episode. But if you're going in it as a diehard wrestling fan, as a Mark, listening to this podcast right now, you probably know a lot of information, but I would definitely check it out. The Great Brown Hope said flying headbutt on. Yeah. There's another Benoit reference right there. We're going through all the names we usually do not say on this podcast today, but hey, when you're talking about the Mystery Man documentary, you're going to have to mention their names, but that's the last we are going to mention of their names because I want to talk about some more uplifting things that happened on Monday Night Raw, specifically in the main event, Jey Uso finally, for the first time in his 16-year career, captured singles gold as he defeated Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, Ian, a lot of people were very surprised with this one, I being one of them. How did you feel about this? Because I would say that you probably were surprised with this one.
Yeah, I was surprised, but good. We've been having these long title reigns for a long time. I mean, Braun just won the title, which was also incredible. That's always going to be on his career and his resume. This was a complete win in every accord of the business. Now you have Jey Uso, who's finally won an Intercontinental Championship and has a championship around his waist while being the main event guy, literally in his name. Yeah. So this is a win, and it was an awesome pop, obviously, awesome moment. And I'm very excited to see what happens. I don't know if it's going to be kind of like a fighting championship again. I'd imagine. Could be that main event slot, live up to his name, and defend the title every single week. Would you be upset with that?
Not at all, but let me be the IWC real quick, Ian. Ready?
Oh, gosh.
But you're burying Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker he just got the title. He's got to hold on to it for a little longer, Ian. What about Braun Breaker?
Shut up. I'll just say that.
He's gonna be fine.
Yeah, he's young. He just won the title.
26.
He already won the title. Yeah.
26.
He's already phenomenal. I mean, we went over it in the tier list last week. I think we had him pretty damn close. Yeah, we had him in the good career
he just
already.
Got there.
He's going to be okay.
There's somebody that responded to me. They're like, Austin Theory, it was the same situation when he lost the title. Now look where he's at. I go, first off, Austin Theory, no disrespect, is no Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker's a future WrestleMania main eventer. There's no doubt about that. Losing to Jey Uso, who, like you said, has so much steam behind him right now, one of the top merch sellers, one of the top baby faces in the company, winning the title off of him is not going to hurt Braun Breaker whatsoever.
Not at all.
He's going to be fine. And now, like you said, Jey Uso, Jey Uso can be that fighting champion now. And we could see maybe, now we're seeing it on SmackDown, LA Knight's defending that United States title almost every week. You could see that with Jey Uso every week as well. I don't see how this is a bad decision, Ian. I don't know why people are complaining about it.
No, and just kind of think about it too. When does the Netflix merger start?
It's right at the beginning of the year. January 1.
He holds that title until Netflix starts. Are you with me?
I mean, maybe. Like, let's go to Great Brown Hope. He thinks Breaker's going to win it back. I tend to agree with him, too, because he thinks Jay's going to help Roman against the new bloodline. And if he's thinking that, Ian, I'm assuming that time frame's around Survivor Series. So I would say no. I would say no, Jey Uso doesn't hold it until the Netflix era. I think he might drop it back.
But is there any shame in him having that title while being in that Civil War? I don't think so.
No, but it might confuse storylines a little bit and handicap the title. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know who in that new bloodline would be able to, like, be a threat to the IC champion. Jacob Fatu.
Yeah, I mean, Jacob Fatu, but I was going to say, even then, I don't think he needs to have anybody in the other bloodline going for the title. I mean, you still could have Braun Breaker. They could both be playing double duty and putting more prestige on the title. That way, both networks or both platforms are seeing that title on Jay's shoulder.
Well, we are seeing that a lot more, too, in wrestling as a whole, that people are feuding with multiple people at one time, you know?
Because the draft means nothing.
I wouldn't go that far. I don't know if that has to do with the draft, but Great Brown Hope says, first episode of Netflix, WWE era is going to be in Los Angeles at the LA Clippers new stadium, the Intuit Dome. And I've seen that. It looks like a very cool stadium that they're building over there. And the Great Brown Hope will be there. He will be out here representing main event wrestling. You love to see that. We're always at big events, it seems. There's always somebody from the network, it feels like.
Well, every wrestling event has a main event, so a main event has to be there. Put that on a shirt. That rolls off the tongue.
I don't know how many more shirts we can make, guys. But speaking of shirts, if you want to support us and buy some merchandise, like that shirt right behind Ian, or that tapestry you see, or this OTM mug right here, we also have new designs available at the onthemarkwrestlingpodcast.com. Here's a little pro tip. If you wait until a week that we have a PLE or a pay-per-view, you will save 10%. But if you just want to be a good brother and go to the onthemarkwrestlingpodcast.com and support OTM today, please do so. We would greatly appreciate it. We got one more comment here trickling in from the Great Brown Hope. He said, same main event will be there 3 times fast. It's like Joe Hendry.
That's probably really hard to say 3 times. But main event will be there. Main event. No, main event will be there.
got
Main
it.
event will be there. Main event will be there. That's actually pretty easy.
Yeah,
okay.
that was easy. Look at
Yeah,
that.
that's
Ian
not bad.
nailed it.
Beetlejuice,
Knocked it out
Beetlejuice,
of the park.
Beetlejuice.
All right. Didn't that movie just come out too?
It did, yeah. Apparently, it's pretty good too.
I was never a Beetlejuice guy. I didn't watch
Yeah,
the
me neither.
original.
Me neither.
Huh.
Are we about to go into some AEW talk?
Do you want to?
Well, I was going to bring up some other breaking news, and I don't think you had it on the docket to talk about. I'm wearing this shirt for a particular reason.
What shirt is that?
That's a Kenny Omega
Kenny
shirt.
Okay.
Kenny Omega is back? Maybe. It's a question. So, a recent teaser by New Japan got released, and it was of Kenny Omega and Hiroshi Tanahashi. And it said 2 legends meet again or something along those lines. You could probably find the tweet. It blew up, absolutely blew up. So
New
I don't know if that
Japan sent it
means yes. So I don't know if that means he's back in the ring or it'll be some partnership again with New Japan and AEW.
out? Okay.
But there's a meeting happening between Tanahashi and Omega.
He's one of the names I would like to see back for sure.
Oh,
Kenny
yeah.
Omega is arguably one of the faces of AEW. Probably put him on the Mount Rushmore if AEW were to, be finished today. But another guy I'd like to see is Adam Cole, baby. That's why I'm wearing the shirt. I really thought there was a chance we were going to get him last night. I don't know why. There was no reports or anything like that. I'm just kind of trying to speak it into existence, I think.
Actually, no, we're gonna talk. I don't know if we're gonna talk about that match. It was the Undisputed Era match. I believe it was Roddy Strong. At the end of the match, they showed a little bit of a face turn coming. So maybe your wish is starting to get granted.
Yeah, I did not pick up on that face turn at all. Maybe I was looking at my phone or something like that. But we were going to talk about Hook and that FTW title. But let's start with what started at Grand Slam this past Wednesday, where we did get the match. We got what they advertised: Bryan Danielson versus Nigel McGuinness. My only critique, Ian, and I gotta nitpick something. I kind of wish this main evented, because the story going into it was, will Danielson be good to go? Will he be cleared by the doctors? I think they could have used this entire episode of AEW Dynamite to kind of plant seeds that maybe Danielson is not going to show up, and you have Nigel running around backstage doing a bunch of things to, prevent Danielson maybe from being cleared for that match. I just think it could have been a continuous story that they could have told throughout Dynamite to lead to the main event, and you still could have got that Christian moment and everything like that. I don't know if you would agree with me or not there.
Yeah, I would agree, but still got to think about what the main story is and the story that's going to have to be talked about next week. Like, you want that refresher of, oh yeah, remember at the end of the show, I mean, we're going to talk about what happened at the end of the show in the last match. You kind of want that to be the fresh thought in your mind going into next week or the shows after. So I get it. Yeah, I completely understand. But again, you got to think too, Danielson and Nigel, it still kind of rings to me that this was a shock that Nigel was even cleared to be in the ring, and it just kind of got thrown together. It was short, obviously, build, barely any build besides Nigel talking on commentary. But we got it, and we can't complain. Like, genuinely, Nigel wasn't even supposed to be in the ring.
No, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that. This is a match of the year candidate. It was not that, but like I told you last night, it didn't need to be that, Ian. The fact that we are getting something that this was the face feud of ROH. Like, when people think of Ring of Honor, they think of Bryan Danielson, they think of Nigel McGuinness, their feud that they had there. We were not watching during that time, but we were still able to appreciate in this moment, 2024, knowing what both these men went through in their careers, because you got to remember, Bryan Danielson had to retire at one point too, and then he eventually came back. So the fact that we were getting it, it wasn't your typical AEW high-flying spot-to-spot match, but I wouldn't sit here and say it was a technical masterpiece by any means, but I still thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought the pacing was strong and everything.
I actually texted you. I am not a big technical wrestling fan or kind of that gritty style.
Catch can or whatever.
Yeah, but this one actually got me, mainly because I've heard the stories about Nigel. I think he had, I believe it was Crohn's disease, and it was like pretty severe to the point where he didn't know if he would make it, which is absolutely insane that he's back in the ring. Yeah, Yeah. But that's just me quoting it, so I'm not going to throw anything out there that could be false. But yeah, seeing him back in the ring, and you could probably just understand like how heartwarming it probably is for him to just be able to be in that situation back in the ring. And that's another reason why we love AEW, and it's an alternative, and this is what you're going to get out of that alternative. Dream matchups you didn't think was going to happen nowadays.
Yeah, and there's a critique from a lot of wrestling fans that they may are rushing a lot of these dream matches. I get it with this one. Like I said last week, I think I would have liked this maybe to be on a pay-per-view, but I understand on the other side of the coin doing Ricochet and Will Ospreay right away. That makes a lot of sense for me, especially on the 5-year anniversary show that's happening next week. But knowing what is coming next week, knowing what they just did here at Grand Slam, and you have Wrestle Dream coming up as well, the AEW calendar is pretty loaded. Like, you've got to be watching every single week, otherwise you're going to miss out on some things.
Yeah, I mean, Danielson, it kind of really heated up when Danielson started searching for that title, because, this dude, this has been a middle finger to the face of everybody who's ever critiqued that man. He's a star, and he attracts people. I mean, people are critiquing Grand Slam's, I guess, audience and crowd, and they shrunk the stadium and the seating.
The
yeah, it's like who cares? The place was packed. No matter how many seats are out there.
Do we know how many seats they actually sold for that?
Let me go look.
WrestleTix would probably have it on X, so if you could look that. But I did notice that with throughout the broadcast that the crowd really didn't seem too loud, but I'm pretty sure that's a tennis venue, right? Arthur Ashe Stadium. So
yeah,
the acoustics in there aren't going to be what they are in like an all-state arena where you have the wooden ceilings and everything just bounces off of it and echoes throughout the entire stadium. So yeah, the match itself was really good. Like, I'm not sitting here and nitpicking on purpose because I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun, a lot of nostalgia attached to it, of course, and now I wonder if this is the last we're just going to be seeing of Nigel in ring. You think this was just him getting his closure?
I think it was, and it kind of felt like it too. The commentary said he said thank you at the end of the match, like he yelled. I
saw it.
But other people were saying, I don't know. I think he's saying fuck you. So maybe it's not the end of it. I don't know. We don't have any confirmation. I'm sure either Friday
or
to
see anything else.
No, I don't think we do either. Unless he's got more in the tank and is like genuinely willing to put more out there. Because I would like to see more Nigel. I don't think he's lost a step, but not in the matter. No, I think he could still go in the ring, and I think he has that story there of kind of like a Jeff Jarrett kind of situation. And I can't believe I just said that, but Jeff Jarrett's kind of in that
doing good stuff.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I think he's kind of in that situation where the fans want to see him do it and build up some steam for a title shot, just to say that he did now in where he's at in his age, kind of like a Billy Gunn too.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I did find the tweet, by the way, on what the setup was for Grand Slam.
Oh yeah,
it was set up for 8,500. That's not bad.
Estimated tickets distributed 8,191. So that's damn near a sellout. Yeah. Love that.
Ooh, Great Brown Hope says Nigel McGuinness greater than Jeff Jarrett. I didn't see either compete in their prime, so I can't really comment on it.
Yeah, I was going to say, nowadays Jeff Jarrett, but
Alejandro,
that's very unfair.
You're a little older than we us kids over here. I'm not throwing shade, by the way. Not throwing shade. Just stating the facts. But let's move on to other things that happened at Grand Slam. One of the things that did happen that I'm very excited about was the fact that Hook retired the FTW Championship. This is something that I mentioned on the show in previous episodes that it needs to happen because I felt like it was sort of capping Hook. There was a ceiling there with that title around his waist, and now that he was able to retire that belt, give it to his dad. Very cool moment, by the way. I thought that was very nice that he was able to give that title to Taz, really put that title on the map. To do it down the street, too, from where that title originated from. Cool. All around good moment for me. How'd you feel about it?
Yeah, and I like a more emotional side of these two. I mean, I guess you could say characters, but I'm sure Taz really isn't a character. That's just him in real life. I like seeing that more emotional side of him, especially when it comes to Hook matches, which we saw. we saw it All In when he came out and actually hit somebody and choked somebody out. So I want to see him kind of more involved. And I know he doesn't want to do that because it might take away from Hook himself, but I don't think it will. I think that builds even more for Hook.
He definitely needs a mouthpiece. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hook needs a manager, but I got to credit your podcast papa, Chris Shoops from the Wrestling Junkies podcast. He threw out the idea today on their show, at Junkies Pod, by the way, that he would like to see MVP bring in Hook and be a part of the new business. And that tickled my fancy, and that would be something.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've seen Will Hobbs. Will Hobbs would be another. Oof, I would love to see that. I wouldn't mind this faction being an absolute powerhouse of.
Well, let's not jump the gun on the faction yet. We're
I know. I'm very intrigued though. I don't know if you really want to dive deep into the MVP thing or just really kind of talk about the Hurt business, if that's a possibility.
Well, yeah, we can get there, but Great Brown Hope loves that idea. All credit goes out to the podcast guy at the Wrestling Junkies podcast. He also said he is only 34, still older than us. Still older than us. We'll take it. But yeah, you're still young, sir. Don't worry. Bill Moss in the house. Great follow on X, by the way. Make sure you give Bill a follow. He said, howdy, y'all. Bill, appreciate you stopping by. We're here talking about AEW Grand Slam, which I believe he was watching last night because I think we had a couple interactions. But Ian, any other things to note from this, match between him and Roderick Strong or him retiring the title?
No, I mean, I brought it up already. It was the Undisputed Era. They came in after the match, so you didn't see it then.
Undisputed Kingdom, not Era.
Kingdom. So after the match, Roddy kind of went for a handshake with Hook, kind of teased the crowd didn't accept it at all. They're like, oh, no, he's about to punch him or something, do something dastardly. Actually gave him a solid handshake. The other guys gave him a handshake, and that was it. So that got me a little intrigued. Got me a little intrigued back into it. I mean, the facial expressions and everything was good. Hopefully this means something for Kingdom and Adam Cole. Baby.
Give me Adam Cole, baby. And, we didn't get Adam Cole last night, but we did get MVP, which was a shock to many. Definitely a shock to me. I don't know about you. MVP is officially all elite, and it seems like he's already doing some recruiting as Prince Nana was out there giving us, an update about former AEW champion Swerve Strickland. MVP gave him his business card. He said, hey, let's talk business. So it seems as if a version or an iteration of the Hurt business is starting to form in AEW. How does that make you feel, Ian?
I love it. I absolutely love it. That was one of the biggest misses that WWE had over the past few years.
Yep.
They were onto something with the Hurt business and fumbled the bag. Kind of gave up on it way too early. I don't know if this means Bobby Lashley's coming or Shelton Benjamin. Shelton Benjamin's the only one that's talked about even joining AEW. Bobby Lashley's no, they're both about the same age, but
they're in their mid-40s.
Yeah, so it seems more Shelton's more intrigued by the idea. But I did bring up the name of Will Hobbs because there was a picture taken behind the scenes of Will Hobbs watching that interaction in that segment very closely. Not on television, obviously. So could mean something's coming up for Will Hobbs. He is coming back from rehab off of a pretty serious injury. He's beefed up, skinnied down a little bit. So could be a new look for him. It could be very beneficial.
Will Hobbs, that's a guy that I need AEW once he's back. Put a rocket on him. Let's go. We got to get to that point with Will Hobbs because they flirted with him too much. He's been around titles. He's had some titles, but they weren't meaningful titles. Like I believe he was FTW champion, right? Which you can say what you want about that title. I don't think it really means much. But getting a guy like MVP is huge because there's not many great managers in wrestling today. Of course, they have Don Callis out there, Stokely Hathaway. They probably honestly have better managers than the WWE does, especially now getting MVP. I think that's what the role he's going to have here in AEW. I don't know if you would agree with that. Do you think there's a chance he wrestles at all, or is he just going to be a mouthpiece for somebody?
I kind of see it like a Stokely situation where if the time comes that he needs to be in a ring, mainly for like a gimmick match or something along those lines, I wouldn't be against it at all. I think MVP, I'm sure that guy still treats his body like a absolute temple, so I'm not. I did point out though. I think I texted that to you as well, and I said I didn't realize MVP was this good on the mic. I mean, I'm sure this was a lot off the top of the dome.
Like Alejandro said, he can thrive
Oh,
anywhere.
it was so good. I that was one of the moments I was watching a show and I could not stop watching.
That's when you know when he's able to control your attention on the stick. You know you got a good mouthpiece right there. And Bill says, "Wonder if Cole will return at Wrestle Dream."
Yeah,
Maybe.
they
I
saved
don't
some
know,
big
once again,
returns there.
Yeah, I don't know his status right now. I haven't seen any reports about him. But going back to MVP and a potential version of the Hurt Business, I think there's some obvious names out there. You mentioned them. I think Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, but the caveat is they are a little older. So you bringing in new blood like a Hook could be something. Name that comes up the top of my head, Keith Lee, who really doesn't have anything to do. He could be an interesting prospect for that group. Is there any other names out there that you would like to see potentially work? Or would you like to see Swerve actually, commit to being with MVP going forward?
I don't. I would like to see him go against him. I think Swerve is in that situation. He doesn't need to change up. Where he's at right now is still absolutely golden. Prince Nana is that's going to be the face faction. And Swerve is going to be the face of the company for another year at least when he comes back. I don't see any change needed unless they really, really want to turn on the burners of him turning heel, but he just turned face. But again, we've seen stuff like that from MJF.
Do you think MVP's faction is going to be a heel faction?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I feel like they can toy the line a little bit, though. Not like full heel. Kind of just like
Right.
badasses, which what they kind of were trying for in WWE.
Right. I mean, it's just very hard to hate Nana and Swerve. I mean, the stuff that Swerve did was pretty bad. I would like to see this bring out a new maybe version of Swerve and Nana. I think it would have to drive him
What do you
further.
think about what Bill's saying? Would you agree with that?
I think Swerve going back as a heel would be a step backwards in his character growth. Yeah, I think so. I think he stepped into that role of being the face of AEW, and to be a face of a company, I mean, you kind of have to be a face.
Pun intended.
Yeah, pun intended, I guess.
Believe it or not, to be a face, you gotta be a face.
How about this name? I'm going to throw this out there. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to give my opinion. I just want to hear your reaction.
Don't piss me off.
It might piss you off. Ricky Starks.
Yeah, it's going to piss me off because I want him in WWE. But no, if he were to stay in AEW, yes. That would be perfect.
Okay. That's kind of more where my question was wondering was, would you rather see him go to WWE or be with the Hurt Business?
Oh, if you're giving me the option, WWE.
Okay.
I want to see him shine on his own. We've seen what Ricky Starks looks like in a faction, just being a guy.
Yeah.
I want him to be solo in WWE. Probably start in NXT. I know that might be a controversial take.
No.
I would start him in NXT personally.
I agree. I mean, he needs that character development.
That's speculation. We don't know what Ricky's doing. Wait, we know he's hanging with Cody.
I was about to say, I saw him on a live stream. I tuned in, I think 2 months ago, and he was just walking the streets of Brazil or something. It was weird. It was weird.
Brazil. That's a country that I don't want to go to, especially after seeing
shout out Brazil
that football game between. Do we have any Brazilian listeners out there? If so, comment on YouTube, please. I'll look up our analytics after this. But we do have a few more things to talk about that happened at Grand Slam. We can be short and sweet on this one because it was very predictable as the Young Bucks retain their tag titles over Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. Fun match, typical Bucks match. I feel like the Bucks matches have a formula to it, and that was the formula we got, but that's not me saying, oh, this match sucked. I enjoyed it, Ian. I thought it was probably the best match of the night, but I really would have liked to see at least Ospreay or Fletcher turn on each other, just some friction. Surprised me a little bit, because it felt just, like I said, too predictable.
Okay, so a few points. Too predictable is for me, my own mindset during that match, they made me believe they have a shot.
Really?
I didn't think it was that predictable. They came out in matching gear and everything. I thought this was leading towards both of them collectively turning against Don Callis and the Don Callis family, winning those titles. Like, I thought there was probably a 5 to 10% chance of a win. Like, and as the match kept going, they played it very well to the point of, oh my God, this actually might happen. I don't know what this is going to do to storylines, which AEW does a lot.
There were good near falls. I'll give you that. There were some good near falls.
And then you also said this really didn't show any sign of turning on against each other, or not show any sign, but you were kind of wanting a heel turn.
We didn't get anything in that department.
But I think differently. I think at the end of the match with the screwdriver, we're seeing some counter conflicts. Looks like Kyle Fletcher still is 100% with Don Callis. Obviously, Ospreay, we've known for a while, he's against the Don Callis effect and wants out of there, but he won't do anything about it for some reason. And we saw with the screwdriver, Fletcher was pissed that he took away the screwdriver, lost the match for them. I'm excited for an Ospreay-Fletcher feud, or Ospreay versus the entire Don Callis family.
Yeah, and then obviously Takeshita would be involved in that, even though I think Takeshita's got a match coming up against Okada, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if they've made that official yet, but, there's been tea leaves going around.
Right, yeah.
That is going to be happening soon. Maybe at Wrestle Dream. Who knows? But anything else from this tag match you want to discuss?
No, I thought it was fun. And also, I think it was Matthew Jackson also said at the end of the match to the critics out there, please say you're sorry. So that goes out to you, Kyle.
Right back at you. You do it to us on TV, I can do it back to you. I do love when Okada does that, by the way. Because
I love it.
Seeing Okada like that,
I just want to say, I don't understand the hate on Okada as kind of this funny side of him. Why? This is entertaining. Sorry, that was just. I love it.
It's growing on me.
The hug of Orange Cassidy, and then he looks at the camera with a straight face was. I think that was at All In, I want to say.
Yeah. He's showing
oh my God, that was so good. Yeah, good. He needs to.
Nice. You know what was crazy, though? The undefeated streak of Yuka, I forgot her last name. Sorry. That's bad. Sakazaki, I think is her last name. Don't quote me on that. But Yuka finally lost the match in 2024 to the Glamour, who, if you did not see my tweet on X, I acknowledge the Glamour in this household. I think she is doing fantastic stuff. Now, the match itself wasn't anything crazy, but we did see Willow Nightingale come out for the save after the match, so that's cool because we've talked about it before that Willow's kind of climbing that ladder a little bit in AEW, and she really hasn't gotten that world title shot. But my only gripe, Ian, Statlander won that feud against Willow Nightingale. Realistically, on the surface level, and if you're going off of AEW rankings, Chris Statlander should get that title opportunity, but I understand why Willow is getting that spot.
Yeah, it's kind of like the more WWE vision of how they build up a roster and who's next on the title shot. It's your top babyface going against your top heel, and I think Willow is hands down the top babyface. And again, it does counteract what AEW says.
What about that name?
Jamie Hayter.
Argue.
You could argue, but she's been gone for so long that you need some time to build back up. I don't think Willow wins this feud. I don't think she wins the title because she's one of those people, and we talk about it all the time, the people that are really good in the build and the chase for the title. You're going to love Willow no matter what. She's a badass, and she's really good in the ring. It's whenever this match happens or builds to, it seems like we're going to get some tag team action first.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be beneficial for the title, for Willow and Mariah.
Here's a theory. Do you keep the Statlander-Willow beef going and you have Statlander cost Willow that match? Or do you think you close the book on Statlander and Willow? Because I think that would be a nice little wrinkle to keep it going. But I don't think that street fight should have been the end. I could have taken more of Willow and Chris and been completely entertained.
Yeah, I think I was on the book saying that as well, that I'm not against seeing more of it. But again, I think that's kind of like a Swerve and Hangman situation where if they end up revitalizing this feud 6 months, a year from now, you're still going to be just as entertained. It seems like they've kind of lowered or slowed down Chris Statlander just a little bit. especially
TV
from
since All Out,
yeah,
right?
exactly. So I wonder if that's the case. They're just going to let her breathe just a little bit.
Unless she
Because
was
obviously,
on Collision.
oh, she might have been.
I don't know. I'm just saying because we
Right,
don't watch
okay.
Collision. Just throwing
That's
that out
true.
there for the listeners and people watching live. Which, by the way, if you're watching this live or on a replay, guys, if you're on YouTube especially, we're trying to get to 400 subscribers by the end of 2024. And Ian, if we get to 400, what are we going to give away?
Well, we're going to be giving Jim Tucker's own signed Rey Mysterio action figure in the box still, in very good condition. It's signed by
Legit
him.
autograph, guys.
Yeah.
As legit as it gets. For free, just for hitting that subscribe button. So, as the junkies would say, I know we quote them a lot, but guys, they're in our
They're
faction.
pretty good.
They're in the
pretty
main
good.
event wrestling network. They're in our faction. Just tell one person about this podcast. Spread the word. Give us a like. We would greatly appreciate it. Bill did say he needs Hayter versus Mariah. I think we're going to get there eventually.
Give it time. It's going to happen eventually. I like I said, even
Jamie's
for
gotta
me,
go through Saraya.
yeah, even for me, which I'm invested into. I'm actually
She
really
just
looking forward to the
re-signed, by
match.
the way. Breaking news.
Really? Okay, congrats.
Re-signed
Good
today.
for her. I like where they're going with Saraya. Is that weird to say now?
I do too, and I don't understand the hate on her. Honestly.
No. When they first brought her in, the Outcast thing, obviously, it didn't work out for Tony. It didn't work out for anybody. So I'm excited for the Saraya.
Great Brown Hope said I'd book Statlander versus MVP, but that's just me. I'll take Statlander in that match.
MVP versus Stokely. Who do you have?
Stokely with the help of Ishii. They squashed their beef that they had in their last feud. Bill says I could see their feud ending in a steel cage. I could as well. Statlander and Willow, I think he's talking about.
I could also see their feud never ending.
Fight forever?
Fight forever, yeah.
But the moment they do, they got to reunite. Like, the moment they reunite,
The
big pop.
two homegrown stars, you got to let them keep going.
Let them cook, as the kids would say. Great Brown Hope says MVP totally puts over Statlander, but not Stokely.
Yeah, it's
Glad we're
that's
on
great.
The same page. Glad we're on the same page. That's our MVM right there. He's the reigning, defending, Four Loko drinking, 4-time MVM for a reason, folks. We got one more match to talk about, though. The main event where Jon Moxley ended up defeating Darby Allin to become #1 contender. He said, screw your opportunity that you earned, Darby. You had to fight for it again, and too bad, you lost. So Jon Moxley is going to get that world title opportunity against his former faction mate, Bryan Danielson, at WrestleDream. I think this is what a lot of us expected, Ian. But what did you think about the match itself?
I loved it. This was a stereotypical Jon Moxley match, but throwing Darby Allin in, who is a human pincushion, he took a hell of a beating during that match.
Oh, he's crazy.
I mean, insane, absolutely insane, and I thought it was absolutely perfect because I didn't know who was going to win. This was another match that I genuinely could see either or going, and I'd be happy with either or.
Well, yeah,
but
that show's in Washington, and that's where Darby's from.
Right. The dude's just a freak. I'm so happy for Darby because
He's so good.
any match that he's in, I absolutely love now. I used to always give him critique of it's the same thing every time. He gets beat up, has a comeback,
the Young
wins
Bucks.
the match.
Same thing
He
every
gets
time.
beat up. No. Okay. All right.
I'm gonna go there. I mean, it's facts, but no, I get what you were saying about Darby though, because like I think I had my critiques. Like, you don't have to do that, but when you start to hear interviews and you get to know Darby, he genuinely doesn't give a fuck. He gets off by doing that shit.
He wears his heart on his
do it.
sleeve.
Right.
Yeah, wears his heart on his sleeve, and he is a company guy. You could obviously tell he's going to do anything he can to sell tickets, and I absolutely loved everything about it.
And like what Bill's saying, that X-Plex on the steel steps looked
Oh my
painful.
God.
A lot of things that Darby Allin went through in this match looked very painful, including the finish, hitting it was basically the paradigm shift
Yeah.
from the top rope. Like, that was the perfect finish, in my opinion. A lot of people are like, oh, that's how you finish this after doing all that? That's
What do you
literally
mean?
John's finisher
Yeah.
from the top rope and planted him on his face. He's dead. It's
Yeah,
fine.
this match also showed where Jon Moxley's at, like, kind of mentality-wise. Like, you saw the switch turn. He was just kind of beating him up normally, taking his time with Darby at the beginning. and then started ramping it up when he started the chance of "you can't kill him" by the crowd.
Never heard that.
That was cool. That was some badass stuff.
You know, Bully Ray always talks about it. Like, somebody goes over, somebody gets over. That's the perfect example here in this main event, because I think Darby is not hurt whatsoever by losing to Moxley here. And now you have a credible guy going up against Danielson where you really don't know who's going to win that match. Like, if you're sitting here and you tell me I think Jon Moxley's going to retire Bryan Danielson, why not? Jon Moxley is the GOAT of AEW. The GOAT.
Yeah. Oh, now that you say that,
he's the ace. Like, why not have Jon Moxley, the guy who essentially brought Danielson in, brought him into the family, the faction, BCC, to end his career? Why not?
It makes so much sense now.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody saw Moxley even
being the guy
remotely thinking about it. Yeah, I like it now.
We said Swerve, we said Hangman, we talked about Nigel, but nobody really mentioned Moxley. And
it makes sense. Yeah. And this storyline still has some time to really, really heat up. I mean, it ended with Bryan Danielson saying, "Let's have a fucking war." It's going to get really intense here, and it's making me come back next week live.
Yeah, I'll be there. Now that wiffle ball season isn't a thing, which, by the way, guys, if you don't see me live tweeting on Wednesdays during the summer, it's because I play wiffle ball every night. I know everybody cares about me. I know you guys want to know what's going on. Similar to like when we don't ask about Ian's and how he's doing and what his life updates are. That's all you got.
People were asking. Yeah, people were asking.
I think this is a fair comment from Bill. Personally, I think Saraya's time in AEW has been very lackluster. I don't think they've really given her a fair chance.
She was always like she was like a mouthpiece or always with somebody, but I genuinely like what they did with her at All In. That was the switch for me where it turned on to the point of like, okay, they're onto something here with an all-out heel, kind of like a crying, like the spotlight should be on me situation. The build-up to that character kind of makes sense because really hasn't gotten much spotlight and the crowd hasn't really received her as well. I mean, another character that would kind of fit into a role like that is kind of like a Mercedes Moné. Moné is doing the complete opposite, saying, "Oh, the spotlight's already on me," but no one really kind of cares. Saraya's doing the opposite, but it's working for her.
I don't know. I think part of it has to do with the anti-WWE fans in AEW, and I just don't think they like Saraya as a person, just seeing the way that she interacts on social media. But I also think Saraya's doing her job as a heel and being a piece of shit online. The guys... Not everybody online is what they are in real life. Like, they still can portray a character. Just look at Drew McIntyre's social media, for example. That dude's a savage. Did you see what he said about Larry?
Yeah.
Just the sad dog on the outside after the match. Yeah. We're going to be talking about that. That's next weekend, Bad Blood. And then after that, we're going to Wrestle Dream. So, a lot of fun stuff happening. But Bill says, final comment we're going to pull up here. I think Nigel versus Bryan 2 needs to happen again. We talked about this earlier, Bill. I don't know if it needs it, but I'm not going to complain if it happens. Ian?
If it happens on a normal Dynamite, just kind of out of nowhere match, I don't know if you can. I think that's all you're going to see, genuinely, because like you said, Wrestle Dream's coming up very soon, and they really need to use this time that they have to build out this new all-out war that they got going on. We just got to kind of look back at it and enjoy what we had with Nigel and Danielson.
Yeah, like we said earlier, it didn't need to be perfect. It wasn't perfect, but it was good. And we had fun and we were entertained. And I think that's all that really matters. But overall, what letter grade would you give AEW Grand Slam? I know it was just a regular Dynamite, but it kind of had a PLE feel to it, so I'll ask for your grade.
I'm kind of aiming more towards the... probably like a 78 C+ range. I mean, there was a few holes that I was kind of tired of. They ended the show really well, opened the show very well, and Young Bucks.
The show was the tag match.
Yeah, that's true. The Young Bucks match was pretty good too.
I'll give it a B+.
I was gonna say maybe an 82. I mean, it was the women's match. Yeah. It didn't attract me at all.
They didn't build up Yuka enough to care.
No, exactly. Yeah, it was all right. It was good.
Yeah, we've had better Grand Slams, but like we said, not everything needs to be, a Grand Slam, pun intended.
Yeah.
You can hit a triple, hit a double here and there, and you're still doing all right. But here we are, guys. You see the background right now. It is that part of the show where we hand out the MVM of OTM. If they don't know what the MVM means, what it stands for, Ian, why don't you tell the listeners how they can become the MVM?
Yeah, MVM. We have a chat. We have a scrolling live chat that we obviously, if you're watching right now, you can see we pull up the live comments. We like to talk to people. We like to hear people's opinions. Unless it's Kynes, usually Kynes' opinions are pretty tough at times. I could say that because he's not here right now. I think
we might have lost Kyne. I think we might have lost Kyne as a wrestling fan. He's one of those UK kids. They don't know what they like.
That is true. That's a very good point. But yeah, no, the MVM basically give out the most comments that mean the most. It's not just spamming, but it's the people, quality over quantity for us.
Yeah, it depends on the night.
Yeah,
some nights it's hard to keep up with the chat. Tonight was very easy because we had 2 front runners for the MVM. It just so happens that the man that was here from the jump was the champion and still MVM of the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast, the Great Brown Hope. And I wish we had Tuck's sound effects. Insert them now. Here they are.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's going to sound like something else. But, yeah, Ian, I think Great Brown Hope definitely earned this title retain right here.
Very good fight. Bill, if you would have been here from the jump, you had my mind flip-flopping between the two. It was like a 45 to 55% chance there. But Bill, if you would have been here from the beginning, it's a shame, man. You probably would have had it.
I'll tell you what, Bill's a good brother. I know I said it earlier, but make sure you're following him on X. I've been interacting with him for a couple years, so always appreciate seeing guys that, you just meet randomly online come in to watch your podcast. It is kind of wild to say. But, Ian, don't forget, we are the official sponsor for the first round matchup between Eric Taylor and Colin Delaney. When I say we, I am talking about the Main Event Wrestling Network at main_event_net. And if you want to catch that show, there are 2 sessions happening. You got one at 2:30. I believe that is Central Time. Actually, no, it's probably Eastern because it's in Akron, Ohio. You can see the match graphic right here. It's going to be a barn burner. That's happening in session 1. And then at session 2, they're going to be running that, I believe, at 7:30 their time. Tickets are still available for this show. Go out, tell them that the Main Event crew sent you there, and, maybe we'll give you some free merch. Ian, what do you think about that?
Oh, I like that idea.
If they go to the show and they say that I'm here because of the Main Event Wrestling Network.
We need a picture, though. We need a picture for proof.
Yep.
Picture for proof.
Need that. And say hi to our guy, Dustin. I got the chance to meet Dustin when I went to Cleveland, and I went to that Thursday AIW show and the Saturday AIW show with one of your favorites, CVV, who was there on Saturday. I mean, I tell you what, I know you weren't there, Ian, but AIW knows how to put on a good wrestling show.
Yeah, we're starting to try to throw some more sponsorships out there, and it's to the people that we genuinely. That's some good stuff going on. We're not just throwing money around for no reason. Eric Taylor's coming up. I haven't seen a lot of his work. I've seen a few clips from his social media, but the dude's got it, and I'm very excited to see where he goes.
He's a natural, and I mean, Colin's a guy that has been there, done that. Done everything in the industry. So that's just like the perfect blend of something great about to happen there. That'll be happening at 2:30 this Saturday, sponsored by the Main Event Wrestling Network. Guys, don't forget that OTM is an affiliate with the WWE shop. You see that QR code right there, Ian?
I see it.
If you scan that and say, hey, you want that new pink Yeet shirt? You want me to get that for your birthday? I'm just going to scan that, and then that's it. That's all you got to do. So when you go shopping for some new WWE merch, use our QR code. I'm also going to throw it up in the corner right here, right now. And we get a little bit. We get a little bit. What's the word I'm looking for? Like commission? Is that the word?
Yeah, commission. Yeah, that's it.
We make commission off of you using our link, and it doesn't cost you any extra money, guys.
Nope.
Right?
And any proceeds that we make still going straight back into the podcast. We used to say that a lot, but it goes straight back here. It helps us out.
StreamYard, $25 a month. Host site, $25 a month. Website, I paid $120 for the year. And then I believe there was another $50 charge in there somewhere. Video editing. So I'm not sitting here and begging you guys for your thing, but I'm just saying, if you're going to buy WWE merch, because we all want new WWE merch, just scan the QR code. It'll do wonders. And also, if you want to support the show directly and get yourself some OTM or Main Event Wrestling Network merch, because that's available as well, at the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast.com. Ian, any final remarks before we sign off for episode 215?
It was a great week of wrestling, and this was a kind of an off week. There's not any pay-per-views. I mean, we had Grand Slam. Guess you can kind of consider that
Didn't
PLE
feel like
kind
an
of
off week, Ian. We
No.
got through a lot there in a short period of time.
No, absolutely. We got Bad Blood next week, correct? Bad Blood next week. Wrestle Dream the week after. Wrestling's cooking right now, and we are glad to have you guys along to talk about it.
Yeah, and if you want to stay along for the ride or maybe compete for that MVM title, subscribe, like, make sure you're following us at Pod on the Mark. And thank you all for listening to the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast.